Hello, and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve, and first of all, apologies for the information about Trossard in the last video. I had been hacking away at the website with all the spare time I had last week in order to get the site and these videos looking more visually appealing and being deep in the weeds of the major code changes that I was making, which you can now see on screen. I missed the fact that Trossard did serve his suspension midweek in the Carabao Cup. So thank you to SoyCD99 and Dr. Drazda, who pointed this out in the comments. And also thanks to all of you for bearing with me through the messy presentations for the last few weeks as the website has been taking shape. Now, the look and feel is still far from finished, but we will get the website and the channel looking much sharper for you all over the coming weeks. And as you can see, there have been quite a few changes on screen. Today, we'll be taking a look at Cole Palmer's 4-goal performance, as well as what happened in Chelsea's first half demolition against Brighton. We'll also review what the Rodri-less City put out against Newcastle at the weekend, with a focus on Rico Lewis and the middle of the park. And then we'll do a quick roundup of the key takeaways from the weekend's fixtures. So remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, especially if you get any value out of the following content. Right, so Cole Palmer. I've been somewhat dodging points by trying to hokey-cokey between Palmer and Salah in the last few weeks within my team. And Palmer is just rubbing salt in an open gaping wound with his 4 goals against Wolves this weekend. And of course it hurts even more because he is my favourite player to watch in the Premier League, when of course Chelsea are firing. But I am over the moon for the lad, even though his outstanding performance has trashed my game week. So we'll just quickly go through the 4 goals. The first one was just a horror pass by Webster, which is a back pass that Jackson intercepted and then gave Palmer an empty net to shoot at and only a defender to beat. Now, this was obviously just a really bad back pass, but it was also caused by the a severe amount of pressing that Chelsea were doing all game, which just made Brighton make more mistakes than they needed to. The second goal was a penalty that Sancho manufactured out of nothing, getting between 2 defenders in the box and being brought down. Now, there has been a few comments floating around earlier in the season that Palmer's main points last year came from a whole bunch of penalties and that was surely not going to be able to continue this season. But I disagree with this analysis. Jackson, Madueke and Sancho are all the types of players that successfully take on their men and will go down in the box when challenges against them are not perfect. Palmer himself is also pretty wily and will surely earn himself 1 or 2 penalties this season alone. And if I think about it, I think Palmer probably has the best set of attackers in the Premier League in order to earn penalties for him. So, I mean, Sterling was one of these types of players as well at City. Like he would often just like get into the box, just barely get past his man, and then leave a trailing leg or something to be brought down for, and getting penalties awarded. So the first 2 goals are just Sancho getting a penalty for him and a horror back pass from Webster. Palmer's third goal though was a hat-trick. His hat-trick goal from a direct free kick, 28 yards out, hits it near post, top bins, absolutely smashing it. Verbruggen was at full stretch, still managed to get a hand to it, but was hit so hard and with so much pace that he just couldn't keep it out. Goes to show some of the qualities that Palmer has in his locker. And then the fourth goal was another defensive error by Brighton, a poor pass out by Verbruggen to no one, which was easily picked up by Enzo Fernandez. He simply laid it off to Sancho, who also was in acres of space, got his head up, which Palmer waited for. So Palmer was just standing about waiting for the ball to settle. As soon as Sancho got his head up, you see Palmer point and then start his run. Sancho just plays a ball into the box, and Palmer hits a first-time near-post shot, low and hard. Just an absolutely clinical finish. So how did all of this kind of come about? Well, the game state of that first half was much more attacking with a lot more forward momentum from Chelsea. And I have said in previous videos that Gusto was one of the key men in the team that actually helps Chelsea get forward. Now, in this match, he was playing from right back. He was inverting into that CDM role, which neither Disasi nor Fofana did in the last couple of weeks where they have been covering for Gusto at right back. And so when Gusto sits in that CDM role next to Caicedo, it allows Enzo Fernandez to get further forward and creates a bit more of an overload further up the pitch. And I did say in the video last week that the key to Palmer's success will be Enzo Fernandez's forward passes and his ability to progress the ball through the middle of the park. And of course, that's a lot easier to do when you're already starting further up the pitch. But not only that, sometimes Gusto does get forward down that right wing, creating another overload. Creating one more person for Enzo and Caicedo to hit, a bit more players for the defensive line to deal with. And of course, this was just not at all happening with Disasi and Fofana in the team when Gusto has been injured. So I really, really rate Chelsea when Gusto is playing. He's amazing in that inverting CDM role because he's very comfortable on the ball. He's actually got really good dribbling and control. Kind of knows how the play is going and definitely unleashes Chelsea's attack. Also, with him pushing Enzo Fernandez further up the pitch, it also allowed Chelsea's pressing to be a lot more effective. So Jackson and Cole Palmer were doing the majority of the pressing, which they could do with Enzo kind of sitting in that cam role that Palmer has left vacant when he goes forward into that press. And it was that press that did help create those errors from the Brighton defense, which did end up resulting in those 2 goals. So this is in 2 of those 4 goals. So this is actually why I think Gusto is so key, because he allows all those forward men to get further forward, more overloads. There's more quick progression through the middle of the park, and he is just the key to unlocking Palmer and the rest of the attackers in Chelsea. Now, Sancho got 2 assists in the match and had a goal disallowed for, I think it was Madueke, who was narrowly offside. This much on the VAR graphic. He's definitely a player to put on the radar, as he's looking super dangerous. He's got very good ball progression, was actually creating quite a few chances, and he actually looks quite confident on the ball. Now, Brighton made most of Chelsea's attack way too easy, as they put up a super high line, basically playing with, when Chelsea had the ball, playing with their defenders on halfway, which is actually suicidal given how much pace Chelsea have. I mean, Chelsea started with Jackson up front. He's pretty quick. Sancho on the left. He's pretty quick. Palmer in cam. He's also pretty quick. And then out on the right is Madueke, and he is also pretty quick. Not to mention the players on the bench like Mudryk and Neto. I mean, Brighton just cannot be doing that. And with players like Dunk and who else were they playing back there? Kadioglu, I think, got his first game, but there's not much pace in the Brighton back line. And if you're going to play that high up the pitch, you need some rapid players to be able to chase down the ball. So Brighton definitely making it a lot more easy for Chelsea. There was a bunch of attacks that happened from just a simple ball from Enzo Fernandez, probably about 18 yards in his own half, just dinking the ball over to the top into acres of space for all those quick lads to run onto, with a slow turning Dunk and the other centre back just not getting anywhere near them. So on Palmer, obviously we all know that Palmer is on penalties and is working with a dynamic set of attackers alongside him. I really rate Sancho in that team. He was a great player at United, did go through a bit of spell of a variance in form, but he does look like he is playing out of his skin. It's obviously going to help Palmer's returns. Palmer's on free kicks as well, and with the quality to nail them from even 28 to 30 odd yards out. Absolutely sublime free kick that he took. However, Palmer's next 5 games are extremely tough, and this is actually why I decided to avoid him on wildcard, instead going to Mo Salah, thinking that I could probably get away with this Brighton fixture, and also looking at Salah up against Wolves this week. I opted to go early. Salah did reward me with a 10-pointer. But Palmer's next 5 fixtures, I was going on a bit of a tangent there, we'll go back to where we were. Palmer's next 5 games, Nottingham Forest at home. Now, I do rate the Nottingham Forest defence. I think they are going to be quite hard to break down. Of course, they did beat Liverpool 1-0 a few weeks ago and have been putting up some very good expected goals conceded stats late last season and for the early stages of this season. Palmer then has Liverpool away, obviously going to be a very tough game. Newcastle at home, who just drew with City 1-1. That's going to be a tough game. Man United away, probably not that tough. In fact, if I think Chelsea had to play Manchester United this week, I'd probably put Chelsea down to win by about 2 goals, to be fair. And then they run into Arsenal at home. So I probably won't be going back to Palmer until at least this run of fixtures is over. But for any of you out there that do have him, you probably hold him for that Nottingham Forest fixture just in case he does come through with another crazy performance. So right, Man City for their first game without Rodri. Now, City lined up with Rico Lewis and Kovacic as the 2 CDMs, and that afforded Walker a start at right back, which is actually the first time we've seen both Walker and Rico Lewis on the pitch in the Premier League at the same time, which is something that I said was available to Pep, to a few people who were questioning Lewis in the comments earlier this season. Now, the 2 most notable changes in the responsibilities of the players in the squad was Gvardiol is now being tasked with the man to get extremely far forward. Now, this was common last season when both Gvardiol and Walker played together. This was actually what ended up causing Gvardiol to be so devastating at the end of last season. And of course, Gvardiol did actually score in the game. He scored the only goal in the 1-1 draw the week after I wildcarded him out. But first of all, being not as attacking as what he had been and what I was buying him for, but also I sold him because he was benched in the week that they did have a Champions League match. So the weekend prior to that midweek Champions League fixture. These are the couple of reasons I sold Guardiola, and of course now he's completely changed positions, getting much further up the pitch and scoring as a result. So that's probably the biggest positive change that was noticeable from the first game they played without Rodri. But the second biggest change was there was a noticeable lack of control in the centre of the park without Rodri on the pitch. Now, the CDM position is probably one of the most undervalued positions from many football fans. They are so key to how any team ticks. Now, I've just talked about Gusto and how he helps unleash the Chelsea go forward and the attack with him in that CDM position. Now, City have become accustomed to having one of the best CDMs on the planet in Rodri, playing pretty much week on week for God only knows how long. He's been a pretty solid, stable player in the middle of the park, and so it is going to take a bit of time to adjust to the new partnership that will end up emerging with Rodri being out for the rest of the season. Now, my pick is that it's probably going to be Kovacic as the main guy that is the mainstay in that CDM role. We may even see him potentially get rested in the weeks where they have a midweek Champions League fixture and one of the more easy opponents in the Premier League. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out. But I think Kovacic will probably be lining up next to Rico Lewis or maybe even John Stones, with my pick for the coming weekend being Rico Lewis. Now, less control in the middle of the park will probably end up affecting how many chances Haaland is afforded. But against the weaker opposition in the Premier League, I don't expect it to change too much, as both Kovacic and Lewis are quality players. Not quite at Rodri's level, but definitely in the upper echelons of players playing in the CDM roles in the Premier League. But they may take a little while to gel together as they have to learn what role Rodri was covering when either of them were playing alongside them. And also the centre-backs in behind need to get used to whoever's going to be that holding CDM player, which is most likely going to be Mateo Kovacic. So still a little bit of a wait and see on Man City and how they progress in the coming game weeks. But I think they will find it a lot tougher against the harder opposition in the league. And we could even see Arsenal come away with a title at the end of the season, as I think City will probably end up dropping some crucial points against some of the tougher opposition over the 24-25 season. Right, so the game week takeaways. So we'll just go through the team quickly. So Salah, I was obviously stoked when Salah was awarded. Salah wasn't awarded the penalty, but he took the penalty and ended up taking home a double-digit return, getting all 3 bonus points from just that solo goal alone. Now, of course, the managers that do not have Salah probably have one of Saka or Palmer, or potentially even both. And of course, Salah came nowhere near close to covering Palmer's 25 points this game week. 25 points with a 40% ownership was already going to be a super hard game week for my team to earn a green arrow in. However, I am on 47 points for the game week, only 4 points behind my safety score, with Semenyo still to play tonight against Southampton at home. If he gets any sort of return tonight, I think I will be on a green arrow, which I'm obviously stoked with. going up against a 40% Palmer ownership with 25 points in the bag for a lot of managers out there. Now, I did end up bringing Saka in at this game week, who ended up getting 1 bonus point for no returns in a game where there was 6 goals. So I'm not entirely sure how that came to pass. He was actually on 3 bonus points at one point before the game ended up recalculating the bonus point system. I still don't know how that's happened. It's 6 goals in the game, and Saka comes away with a solo bonus point with no returns. It's kind of crazy. 2 of his corners, though, did generate big chances for Gabriel and Calafiore, forcing Hermansen into 2 outstanding saves. Now, of course, if he picks up those 2 assists, that immediately puts him on 9 points and probably pushes him back up into the 2 or 3 bonus points, which would have been that 10 or 11 pointer that I was looking to buy him for. As I said in the video last week, I think he could score 30 to 40 points over these next 3 games. He could have easily come away with a double-digit haul in this fixture. Mbumo, who I bought in on my wildcard last week, scored another side volley in the first minute of the game for the 2nd game in a row to make it 3 games on the trot where Brentford have scored in the opening minute. I am obviously stoked with this, especially considering Mbumo is actually only owned by, I think it's like 20% of the game. I can't actually check at the moment because I've pulled the screens apart and the other parts of the screens are broken right now, but I know he is owned only by about 20 to 25% of the game. Rodgers was the beneficiary of a horror clearance by Greaves, who I actually ended up playing over I held on to João Pedro this week to put him on the bench to gain some more information about what's going on with João Pedro, having to play Greaves, and I was just hoping that he wouldn't concede twice and would come away with a 1 or 2 pointer. Of course, Greaves hits a clearance straight across his own goal, picked up by Rodgers, who intercepted the ball inside the 18-yard box and ends up doing a 1-2 with Watkins and then scoring through a crowd of 5 defenders who were all very closely grouped together with a laced low hard shot far post. Great finish. That's 3 returns in the 2 game weeks that I've owned Rodgers now, which is outrageous returns considering his ultra cheap 5.1 million price tag, which actually allows me to afford Saka, Salah and Haaland in my team. So I'm running with a bit of a differential threemium. So Porro was helped to a clean sheet with Fernandes getting sent off in the first half. Yes, Fernandes did slip, but he did catch Porro quite high up. He could have pulled out of that challenge, and so it is a red card. Not ideal for United or any of those of you who are still hanging on to Fernandes out there. But I will definitely take the clean sheet. Unfortunate that he got a yellow card. Kanate has been outstanding for me since I brought him in. Now, I only bought Kanade to block Trent's and Robertson's clean sheet points, not at all expecting any attacking returns. Now, last week he got an assist, which was obviously helped out by the horror decision by, I think it was Kepa to come out and allow Diaz to score the goal. But this week, he scores a goal from a headed chance against Wolves to come away with 7 points, beating Trent. I think Trent only came with a point this weekend, and so he's actually been outscoring Trent for a full 2 million cheaper than what managers have forked out for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, my double up on the Arsenal defense got very unlucky this week. The first goal that went in was a deflected shot that sent Raya the wrong way. And then Justin scored the goal of the weekend with the purest of outswinging volleys I've seen in a very long time. That is a once in a blue moon shot, especially considering it came from a defender. An outrageous goal. Raya's got absolutely no chance of saving that, and I don't think that's going to happen too often. I am stoked to have the double up in the Arsenal defense, and their coming run of games should afford me quite a few points there. As I already mentioned, Gabriel did have a huge chance saved by Hermansen, which was a great reaction save from his near-range effort, which was hit very strong and on target in a typical goal-scoring part of the goal. Hermansen actually had an outstanding game in net, keeping the tally way down by making some incredible saves in that match. So I ended up with 47 points, which I said is 4 points behind my safety score, but I do still have Semenyo to play tonight. I'm pretty happy with that result, considering I didn't have Palmer's 25 points at his 40% ownership. Now, I will be eagerly waiting on news about João Pedro's injury to see what I'm going to do with him this week. And I'll also be keeping an ear out for Rodri's fitness levels, as he came off after just 63 minutes with what sounded like a bit of a tight hamstring. So we will have to keep a bit of an eye on that for game week 7. But alright, well, that wraps up this video. So don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a comment to tell us what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.